I want you to put your hand up if you've ever wanted to get back at someone who wronged you, someone who hurt you, or someone who annoyed you, even if it was in a really minor way. Thank you all. So most of us in this room, and probably most of those watching at home, have wanted to take revenge at one point or another. Revenge is something that lots of us can relate to. Most of us have thought about it, and we probably have some pretty strong ideas about what we think of revenge. Right now, I'm doing a PhD on the psychology of revenge, and when I started my PhD, I had some pretty fixed ideas in my head about revenge. I saw revenge purely as a bad thing. It was evil, it was immoral, it was animalistic. It caused harm, it led to death and destruction. And there was a really good reason why I thought this. The harms of revenge are very real. However, the more I've learned about the psychology of revenge, the more I've come to appreciate that it is so much more complex than just something evil, immoral, or animalistic, only carried out by the very worst people in society. I mean, for one thing, we've already established that most of us in this room have wanted to take revenge. Wanting revenge is common. It's normal. We're also fascinated by stories of revenge. Humans have written so many stories about revenge, dating back at least to the ancient Greeks. And Shakespeare later captured the imaginations of people in 16th century England with vivid plays about revenge. And this fascination with revenge stories has not gone away. Think of blockbuster films like Gladiator or Taken, or TV shows like Game of Thrones. And I'm sure that all of you watching could come up with thousands more examples of revenge storylines in your own favorite films and TV shows. So, our plays, films, and TV shows all point to our fascination with revenge. But why is this? Why are we so fascinated by revenge, and why do we all think about it so much? Well, evolutionary psychologists, including Michael McGaughey, argued that our modern drive for revenge first evolved thousands of years ago. And this is going to come as a surprise to most of you, but they argue that our desire for revenge first evolved in order to promote cooperation between people. In other words, revenge evolved because it was useful for society. It served a purpose. It was a good thing. It was retaliation with reason. Now, the idea that revenge evolved to promote cooperation might seem strange. Revenge and cooperation seem like polar opposites, right? Well, I want you to think back to a time when modern humans who look like us first evolved. If you want to, you can close your eyes and picture yourself there. Picture yourself living in a cave. You're spending your days foraging for food and hunting animals. And survival is a constant challenge, and not just because of the predators like big cats that constantly stalk around you. This is a society that is lawless, where theft and violence from other humans are constant threats. You can see how, in a society like this, if you were to develop a reputation for taking revenge, then others would be less likely to harm you because they would fear your retaliation. And in this way, one single instance of revenge could go on to prevent significant future violence. So revenge prevented theft and violence in early human societies in the absence of modern legal systems. By preventing violence, revenge enabled humans to work together, to cooperate, to trust one another. This meant humans could build social networks and exchange resources. They could farm and live together in settled communities. And in this way, revenge contributed to the emergence of villages, towns, cities, nation states. So the world as we know it might look very different without revenge. Now, we've established that lots of us in this room have wanted to take revenge at one point or another. And it seems that this is because our ancestors evolved to want revenge because it was beneficial for society. It served a purpose. It was a good thing. It was retaliation with reason. And scientific studies also offer evidence that we may have evolved to want revenge. For example, a 2008 study by the eminent late geneticist Lyndon Eves demonstrated that revenge might be built into our biology. For the identical twins in the study, 40% of the difference in their vengefulness was determined by their genetics. In other words, almost a third of the twins' likelihood of wanting revenge was built into their biology. Can you believe it? Behaviors that look a lot like revenge have also been observed in the animal kingdom, and this is another indicator that revenge might be built into our biology. Scientists have witnessed lions tracking down and attacking jackals that have tried to steal their food. And according to a story published in the Indian Telegraph, 2 monkeys had to be captured after they killed a shocking 250 dogs, allegedly to avenge the death of a baby monkey that had been killed by a dog years before. So lions and monkeys, shockingly, have exhibited behaviors that look a lot like revenge. And this suggests that revenge may have evolved in humans and other animals because it served a purpose, because it was a good thing. It was retaliation with reason. Now, revenge may also have been passed down over thousands of years through our culture as well. Our attitudes to revenge are shaped by our religions, our laws, our stories. And because of this, the very nature of revenge may have changed over the years from something that once existed to deter harm and prevent violence to something that is today a response to injustice, to feeling mistreated or morally wronged, regardless of whether or not this will go on to deter harm in the future. So, does this mean that revenge was a good thing that prevented violence in the distant past, but it's purely a bad thing now? Almost, but it's not quite that simple. Revenge may still serve some useful purposes today. For example, right now, I'm studying revenge fantasies in victims of crime, and one crime victim, who I'll refer to as David, had his house burgled. This left David feeling unsafe in his own home. He felt completely powerless and helpless, unable to protect his family. For David, imagining himself taking revenge in the days after the crime made him feel more confident. It made him feel powerful and like he was in control of his life again. So we don't have to take revenge with all the devastating consequences that can entail in order to experience the benefits of it. And in this way, revenge could still serve a useful purpose today. However, I should caveat that whilst revenge feelings may be beneficial for us in the short term, if those feelings in David were to last for a long time and become obsessive, then they could be harmful for his mental health. Now, like David, lots of us have experienced revenge desire. And this is likely because revenge was once beneficial for society, and it could still have some benefits today. Feelings of revenge are normal and nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, the evolution of revenge may even have led to the formation of society as we know it. Without revenge, we might not be here in this room right now. So, as a revenge researcher, I see doing research on and talking about revenge as vitally important. This is because understanding the causes of revenge could help us to step in and prevent violence. And understanding revenge fantasies better could help us to improve support for crime victims' mental health, which often suffers in the wake of the crime. Now, after this talk, I encourage you to reflect on your own experiences of revenge or revenge fantasies and consider taking time to read about or even take part in some of the vital and fascinating psychological research that's out there on revenge. Thank you.